Welcome back, everyone. So for today, we're going to travel to the island of Puerto Rico. So the ron we're going to talk about today is Don Q. We're going to dive into Don Q's backstory, production, and specifically their expression of Don Q crystal. So Don Q crystal was actually the ron that I used in my winning Caribbean peanut butter and jelly clarified milk punch for the Don Q challenge. So you can see that video on how to make my winning milk punch on my Instagram profile, Latina Rum Lover. So before we get started, please hit the subscribe button to subscribe to all things Ron-Rhum-Rum cation. So Don Q has been in the Sarayes family for 6 generations. It all started with Don Juan. He produced the first rum cask under the family name. In 1934, the Don Q brand launched, and the name Don Q stems from the novel Don Quixote. So in the novel, Don Quixote is in search for the perfect world. This signifies Don Q's search for perfection in rum making. In 1935, a new large-scale distillery was built, featuring modern equipment. According to Don Q, they have 68% of the Puerto Rican rum market locked up. They attribute this to the fact that their family roots have always been in Puerto Rico. That's where they first launched their distillery. Distillería Sarayes is one of the few family-owned Caribbean distilleries left. During his tenure as CEO of Distillería Sarayes, Felix Sarayes Jr. put all his efforts in modernizing the family business, also creating a greater range of products, and finding ways to create a more positive impact on the ecosystem. The family had a goal of growing their own sugarcane in Puerto Rico. However, Hurricane Maria that hit in 2017 set them back. And so Don Q sources its molasses from Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and other sources. Q has contributed to more than 160 fundraisers in support of Puerto Rico. They even created a program for others to adopt a bartender during the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. And they did all that while their distillery was without electricity for weeks. Now, before we dive into the production of Don Q, let's learn a few regulations to classify as Puerto Rican rum. So first, to classify as Puerto Rican rum, the sugarcane spirit had to have been aged in American white oak barrel for at least 1 year. Sugarcane spirit had to have been molasses-based. Distillation and aging had to have taken place in Puerto Rico through a continuous column still. The Treaty of Paris of 1898, which ended the Spanish-American War, provided the Sarayes family with exclusive rights to the Rio Inabon. This local water is used to dilute the molasses before fermentation. Don Q cristal takes about 40 hours, and they have their own yeast culture that they've been cultivating for over 75 years. Don Q distills its ron 5 times, and from what I've read, it's to remove impurities and provide a very clean rum with a nice texture. Don Q uniquely uses twice used whiskey barrels. They say it's to promote more sweetness in the rum. Once the barrel has been used twice, when it's time for them to put their spirit in the barrel, you won't get much dryness and spiciness. You're gonna get more of that like sweet character left in the barrel from what it previously held. The hot climate in Puerto Rico speeds up the maturation process, and so a spirit that's aged in the Caribbean is going to age a lot faster than a spirit aged in, let's say, Scotland. Puerto Rico used to be a Spanish colony, so it's not surprising that they use the Solera system. People also refer to the Solera system as fractional blending. So with this system, you're going to taste a fraction of mixture of your younger, really vibrant spirit mixed in with some really matured spirit as well. Q has 3 rows of barrels. The top barrel has your youngest rum. That young rum from the top barrels get filled into the middle level. Your oldest rum's at the bottom row with more rum from the middle row. So you go from top to middle to bottom. And so this system allows you to end up having a spirit that could have rums that go very far back. The Solera system in Spain is used for sherry. I love using sherry in my cocktails. I consider, especially like Fino and Amontillado sherries, they're like my salt and pepper in cocktail making. Aging and blending is followed by charcoal filtration, which is how Don Q Cristal is produced. So as you can see, really clear, but it'll still have that hint of oak while still being light, crisp. Now let's taste Don Q Cristal. So the ABV is 40%. It's definitely very light, crisp. It feels very fresh in the glass, really lively. What I like is that it doesn't smell super neutral. Awaken your palate, get it all in your gums. I was getting like on the nose, like some floral notes. What I was really surprised about when I had Don Q Cristal was it goes down really nice and smooth. It still has like some slight character to it. It has a really nice acidity to it as well. It's like, I love the smoothness, I love the acidity, it's like bright. I'm really curious to see how this will work. Let's head on over. Don't forget to subscribe. Okay everyone, so for today I have a special treat. Today we're gonna work with a shrub. So I had seen a video about shrubs. So basically it's when you take a flavor. In this case I did fresh tomato water, strawberries, and I added some balsamic vinegar. So the key to a shrub is adding a vinegar element. Again, you can use balsamic or you can use like apple vinegar, rice wine, you can even blend them together. So I saw this really great Zoom chat about shrubs, so that really inspired me. A lot of times you crave a strawberry daiquiri, so I kind of wanted to incorporate strawberry with Don Q Cristal in a different way. And then I added a little bit of manzanilla sherry as well. So to make this cocktail kind of like a loose cobbler style cocktail, we're gonna take 1 strawberry. We're gonna muddle it just lightly in the glass. You don't want to break the glass, just kind of like push down, do a little rotation motion, extract those juices right at the bottom. Now I do have an ice crusher, but for those of you at home that don't, you can always take a spoon. So I'm going to take my bar spoon and just kind of like lightly tap it to crack, just enough to crack it, and put it in your glass until it's full. Get those like very different pieces in there. So now I have my Pilsner glass full of cracked ice in the fridge so the ice doesn't melt. I'm gonna do 3 turns of cracked black pepper. 2 teaspoons. Now I have this baking spoon, which I really like. As a bartender, I think it's really helpful, 1 piece. But at home, if you have like other teaspoons, that's fine. So I'm gonna bring it back to 2 teaspoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And now I'm gonna do strawberry tomato water balsamic shrub, which again has a little bit of manzanilla sherry. So manzanilla sherry is made in Sanlúcar de Barmeda, so it's near the sea, so you get that briny quality. So we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of the shrub plus 1/2 teaspoon. And now we're gonna do 1/4 ounce of MS gin, just to get some like interesting botanicals into MS gin for this cocktail, because I think it'll play really nice with the crisp lightness of Don Q Crystal. It has flavors of hibiscus, kaffir lime. And now we'll do 1.25 ounces of Don Q, our main base spirit. 1 ounce. Now we're gonna shake this cocktail with just 2 cubes, since it's gonna go on ice, not too much dilution. Taste. There we go. Now we're gonna do a turn, and we're gonna garnish with a fresh strawberry. I put a little slit in the middle, sit right on there in our glass. I call this one Primavera de Cuarentena. It translates to Spring of Quarantine. It's really nice, light, fruity, fresh, crisp. You get all the botanics, you get a bit of that balsamic, again, that like brininess from the manzanilla, savory with the black pepper and fruity.